To Chill Out. I'm Pam Chill, host of Chill Out, and I'm pleased to have on my program today Agnes Laughlin. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for appearing. We had met at a conference hosted by North Shore, and it was very, very interesting topics, and then I got introduced to you, and we took it from there. So today's topic is about bringing joy and wellness to your life, and you are a joy expert, which I found very interesting. Okay, I'm going to read a little brief bio on you. And bio for Agnes Laughlin is for over 10 years. You've been working with organizations and individuals, supporting them to connect to their visions, accelerate their results, and create expansive, healthier, and more fulfilling lives. As a sought-after speaker and trainer, Agnes has offered transformational workshops to organizations and groups around the country. Agnes has been speaking at the Infinity Foundation, Rotary Clubs, Unity in Chicago, and at Radiant Health and Spirit. You founded the Miracles in Wellness in 2008. You have a background as a nurse practitioner, certified in geriatrics, and a master's in nursing through DePaul University. You were certified in the Emotion Code, which we will go into a little bit deeper and find out what all of these are, Parasite Healing, Theta Healing, Higher Brain Living, and Potentiate Your DNA, and a life coach with the Life Mastery Institute. You facilitate retreats, and you evolve your joy, and you believe that we are spiritual beings living a human experience, and we heal on many levels. And you also wrote your mission statement, Agnes. You said, I love my life, I feel deep joy, and I have attracted deep, loving relationships. I enjoy supporting others to connect to feeling more sustained joy and love in their life. Again, welcome. So we have a lot to deal with. Well, where would you like to start? Do you want to say how you initiated and became a joy facilitator?
Yes, I consider myself a joy facilitator, and it's been a journey for me. Actually, it started quite a while ago, but as you mentioned, I am a former nurse practitioner. I have a master's degree in nursing from DePaul. I know Theta Healing, emotional healing, higher brain living, potentiate your DNA, all of that. But actually, life has not always been joy unlimited for me. When I was in my 40s, I found myself feeling what I call down, feeling I had no friends, and just relationship was something that happened or did not. And I really didn't understand. I was married. I had 2 children. There was nothing physically wrong.
Do you think it might have been empty nest syndrome?
No, my children were younger then.
Oh, okay.
So, no, I just wasn't feeling connected to my life.
Okay.
And it took me many more years to figure out what I considered it was. I just call it going through the motions and busyness of life, sort of like on autopilot or auto conditioning. Mm-hmm. I was conditioned to take care of my children, my husband, clean the house, work a job, social outings. Mm-hmm. It was like a sleepwalk, and one day I woke up from this, and it was painful. When I woke up, I cried, and the process happened when I met a stranger who came to visit me, and I sort of realized in some deep sense that I wasn't connecting. My husband would call me, and I just wasn't, I could feel the disconnect even in his voice. So it wasn't just me, it was both of us. But so I really said, the only thing that matters is, feeling love. Love was the only thing that mattered. And I didn't know where to go, but fortunately the universe sent me a phone call. I called up someone actually, and he recommended a book called Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins. Mm-hmm. And this book changed my life because it gave me a focus that there was more possible for me, that I could create more in my life. I wasn't limited to what I had been experiencing. And so as a result, I was determined. I didn't know exactly what to do, but I was determined. So I asked for help in meditation. I was open to new things. So I remember going to Florida one time, and Dr. Bradley Nelson was speaking. And by then I already had heard of muscle testing, but he demonstrated through muscle testing that we hold emotional issues in our physical bodies.
It's quite interesting. Like a tenseness, is that it? Or?
No, actually words like unworthy or regrets or fear, grief. Grief is held in the lungs. So I ran out and bought that book immediately and signed up for his first conference, which was in the beginning of December in Utah. Utah wasn't so cold as Chicago, but so my life changed because I learned all these other things as a result of that. But that was sort of the beginning. I was just open. I have the open personality where I just want to learn more. So being open to your own transformation, I think, is so important. Some people have trouble opening up and investing in themselves, but I think that our own personal growth is why we're here. So
why do you think people are so closed off to the idea of investing more time into that upon themselves? Because they're taking care of too many people, or they feel
well, that's part of what I'm here to say is that we're all conditioned from birth on to perform certain things and expectations, and this conditioning grabs hold of our lower brain, our programming. We're programmed to do things like, do you ever get up in the morning, have your coffee, shower, get in the car and go somewhere and realize, gee, I don't know how I got here. It's just all of a sudden all this programming of how you fix your coffee, how you drive your car. It's all just in a subconscious program where we're all, and most of us don't wake up from this programming unless
right. And like with women, it's like you have to put on the makeup a certain way. You have this regiment, this routine that you have to do. And you can't even deviate from it because it throws your whole day off.
It might, yeah. Some people are more attached to that, but usually the only thing that will shake us up is a traumatic event or some repetition about how you want to be instead. So if you want to change something, it's either through repetition or some traumatic, or even it could be a traumatic happy experience, whereas before, just being appreciated or something can have a profound effect on someone who's sort of stuck in unawareness of how, it's an unawareness of how we're creating our own lives, really.
Oh, that's a very interesting topic. What do you think some of the reasons are that most people don't feel joy? Or don't feel joy at a certain time anymore, or...
Yes. May I ask you a question?
Sure. That's what I'm here for.
What is, if you could pick a happy time in your life, what would be one of the happiest times in your life?
Oh, that is an excellent question. I would say probably there was a time in my career that I was managing a store, and this store just blew away all numbers, and I finally got the recognition that I wanted, and they made me manager of the year, and that it was just like that whole year, everything just was smooth sailing.
Wow. And what emotion did you feel when you got this recognition?
I felt joy. I did feel happy, and I felt that everything I was doing finally came together. I had the best crew. I had people recognizing me. I won trophies and gift certificates, and
so your mindset was that everything was supporting you, actually, right?
Right, but it took a lot of hard work to do it, and
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Awesome. So why do you think you or someone else doesn't have this feeling most of the time?
There could be a lot of mitigating factors,
Is there
Yes.
one thing you can think of?
Oh, okay. No, you're doing the interview. Okay. It's like,
No.
this reminds me of like The View, where they kind of everybody switches roles. Okay. What I think is probably, I think investment in yourself, and I think time is an issue. Tremendous. Yeah,
Okay.
the people are very. You don't have a lot of time to do everything. Everything is like, you have to look at your calendar, you have to look at your date book or your phone.
Okay.
And I think
That time is
yes.
a perception about how we're encased or constrained maybe, but it's a perception. So I would say, to me, I focus on three main areas where I feel a lot of women and men shut themselves down from creating more joy. And one is a fuzzy vision of how to create a life they love.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, would you go to California without a road map or maybe a spare tire in your car? Or if you were driving, yes.
If I were
yes.
driving, I probably would, and I
Yes.
would get it all, make sure that, all the maintenance had been done before and get it all checked out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but most of us aren't really taught how we create our own results and how we create our lives. So we have this fuzzy vision, and we see examples. I've seen examples in my own life, including myself, of that fuzzy vision, lack of a roadmap, allowing us to just feel disconnected from joy and love. It could be talking too much. It could be, the internet. Let me give you an example of a friend of mine. She recently died. She had 3 husbands. First 2 abused her. The third was an alcoholic. She developed diabetes, and they say in Theta Healing, when you develop diabetes, the sweetness is gone from your life. Your body can't process sugar into the cells anymore. So the sweetness is gone from your life. But not only that, she developed cancer.
Mm.
And she kept saying, well, I'm going to beat this. But on some level, I think there was still not a map of how to looking for acknowledgement or even support outside of herself, or not really realizing that we're the only creators of our disease. Buddha says we're the creators of our disease and our health. So it's our responsibility. And without a map or some tools, I think it's difficult for a lot of people. So what I would recommend is to create that vision through reading books. I like Louise Hay about loving yourself, and her mirror strategy. So whenever you look in a mirror at your own face, say, I love myself, and say it multiple times throughout the day or whatever. Look at yourself and reaffirm. That's the repetition of reprogramming your mind to love yourself. We are deserving of love, and a lot of times we block that in some way by our perceptions of ourselves. So that's my mistake number 2 that women and men often make. Besides not having a map, we have what I call dissatisfaction, just not feeling like we're worthy. Ghosts from our past come and revisit us about things that we didn't do right. And this is what I call the subconscious beliefs. And actually, it's been studied and said that these subconscious programs come from our ancestors, and it controls 88 to 90% of our conscious thinking process. So what you think you're consciously doing is really subconscious programs from your ancestors telling you about whether you're worthy or even, let me give you an example of a
yes,
friend of
please do.
mine. Yeah, I'll call her Tina, and she was a divorced woman with feelings of overwhelm and overwork, and she said to me one time, men are just jerks. So how did she pick that up? Or another thing might be going in your head, all good men are taken. I mean, that's just a program, right? A belief. And so if that's running your conscious thinking, what will you attract into your life? Will you attract anything but a jerk, maybe?
Negativity.
Yes, absolutely. So it's important to be aware that the conscious mind is running, and that I would recommend the support of someone like a Theta healer. Theta healing is amazing for reprogramming the subconscious mind. And
could you just tell me a little bit about Theta healing?
Well,
what it entails?
It just involves connecting to Creator, our higher self, whatever you believe in, to heal on a physical, emotional, or spiritual level. And basically, it's mostly about removing the limiting beliefs. I mean, you could use it to heal DNA, for instance, but mostly we use it to remove the subconscious programs that we have ways of finding. And once we find like the basic belief, a limiting belief, then we reprogram the subconscious mind with affirmations or empowering beliefs. So I think it's very powerful.
Okay, is there anything like conscious level to subconscious level?
So it moves from the subconscious level to the conscious level. That is what healing involves, moving things from the subconscious to the conscious level so that we can release it.
Oh, it's amazing, amazing. So what is important to approach life's challenges from, why is it important, from a higher brain state?
Yes, thank you. Well, higher brain state is a very powerful way to connect to who we are. And it really is up here, right behind your forehead. And I studied higher brain living. There's various aspects of it already out there about changing your brain waves. So higher brain living changes your brain waves. Dr. Joe Dispenza says this is important, that you can do it in meditation. And I love the Theta Healing, not Theta Healing, the higher brain living meditation, which is about that roadmap I was talking about. So we create a roadmap. But when you engage the higher brain, then the lower brain, which is the brain that's running all those subconscious things that we do on a daily basis, those habits, most of us are just collections of habits. So we can overcome that programming to have states of joy, abundance, just creating more of what we want, a life. So it's very important to be aware of that. And I think that it's really, really important for women and children, because we have so much disconnect, feeling lonely. In fact, they say that there's a physician called Lissa Rankin on a TED Talk said that feeling lonely is #1 cause of disease. And we have tremendous amounts of depression, according to Dr. Mercola on the internet. 1 in 6 of us are taking antidepressants at the present time. And unfortunately, a lot of our children are also subject to this type of medication. So it's really important to connect to higher states of consciousness, to just empower ourselves. And so yeah, that old subconscious, they call it reptilian brain. So our brain developed in to four different stages. And the prefrontal cortex is part of the neocortex. The prefrontal cortex is really the most evolutionary part of our brain that we don't access very much. Very few people do because they're stuck in the pattern of sameness equals safety. So we evolved to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have things like an angry boss or upset children, traffic jams,
Co-workers, right.
all of that, relatives, just, sort of trying to, or actually, allowing them to, how shall I say, unlock us from that feeling of joy that we react instead
You're
of
focusing on that moment or how they perceive you, which is not a lot of times how you perceive yourself.
right.
Yeah, I think that's a difficult thing too, because sometimes, especially in the workplace, they can perceive you one way, and you do not perceive yourself that way, and it's very difficult.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's very easy to get stuck in some kind of negative experience or comment from a boss or something that'll play in your head all day long and color what you think about yourself or how you want to react to your spouse when you're out of the situation because the negative.
You're traumatized by
Yes.
what had happened. I mean, people may not think so, but there is a way of doing constructive criticism, and there's a way of not doing constructive criticism. So it does play a role. Why do most of us use only about 5% of our brain's potential?
Yes, that's a good question. Actually, Einstein said that we cannot solve our problems from the same level of consciousness that created them in the first place. So in order to solve our problems, it's important that we figure out a way to get in the higher brain to not react and to see the potential, the possibilities. There's more than one way of perceiving any situation, and a lot of times we just get stuck in perceiving that, the world or this person is against me, and it could be the total opposite, because how many times, or can you name an instance, for instance, where something seemingly bad happened to you, and in the end, you can see that there was some kind of diamond in that, what my friend says, dog shit. There was some benefit to help you grow.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You have to look at everything in life as a learning experience. And if something did go wrong, you know how to obviously, in retrospect, what could you have done differently and what you can do differently. You had sharing your experience with higher brain living and how your life changed yourself and in other clients. Did you want to touch on that, or did you?
Sure, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my husband and I both underwent higher brain living sessions in 2015, and I just was open. I had heard about it. I felt a change in energy of the people that had gone through the process. Although when I met my facilitator, I felt that it was the right time and the right connection. And I was just open, but, once I had to create my life map in 4 dimensions, my health, my mind, my body, my relationships, and my external creations, my environment, my life changed. So I started reading books about consciousness. I took self-development courses. I became a life coach. I learned all these things. I started teaching more. Mm-hmm. And that was just my mind, personal growth. And then in terms of my body, I'm always trying to create better health for myself. So it's not just supplements, it's releasing emotional issues, emotional baggage, beliefs, all of that. And it's taking supplements, it's doing yoga, all of that.
Oh, I'd love to learn what you take because you do so much and you're so energetic.
So yeah,
Yes.
and
Have to do a whole list one day.
I also created amazing relationships. Yeah,
That's
and
wonderful.
my relationship with myself changed, which was most important. And my husband, yeah, he changed too, although he didn't do the daily mapping part. That's part of a daily practice, twice daily. He's an amazing person. He says he loves me constantly, very appreciative. He also quit a lifelong addiction. So it was an amazing transformation.
Okay, well, we don't have too much time. I just wanted to, did you want to talk about, you told me you took this wonderful trip, this learning trip from Costa Rica. So
Yes.
If we can just briefly discuss what transpired.
Okay, well, we went for a 3-day class, and Costa Rica is an amazing place to visit, a very safe country, very entrepreneurial, very, probably no 5G down there yet, but anyhow. So Carol Friesen teaches body awakening method, and she learned it from an interesting guy from, I think he was born in Germany, lived in India, and lived in Australia, and he ended up in Canada. But she's the only one certified in the world to be the certifier of anyone teaching this method. And so Herman Mueller was the founder, and Carol Friesen in Costa Rica, she retired from Canada. So it's all about how our body holds issues from our past. So anything going on in your body or your mind, your emotional states, create physical manifestations in your body. For instance, your posture, the way you hold your head. I have right knee discomfort, sometimes arthritis, whatever you call it, is not feeling emotionally supported. I also hold those emotional issues in what I call
your core?
the solar plexus right here. So it could be any of the chakras, but the first 3 chakras are really what ground us. So for instance, Carol, when she was in 8 years old or 9, there was a spelling test in the classroom, and she was talking to her classmate about, I forget, maybe needing a pencil or something. And the teacher caught them, and he accused her of cheating. And he whipped her with the strap on the hands. And she says after that she couldn't spell or talk or do a lot of things that required spelling.
It's an emotional.
And so, and she didn't become aware of this. She had trouble even speaking till much later in life when she, this came up in her class. So she released that issue, and she's a beautiful speaker.
That's wonderful, wonderful. Well, we don't have too much time left. I just wanted to say, how can people contact you? Do you want to give your website?
Yes, my website is under reconstruction or revampment. It's miraclesinwellness.com, and my phone number's there. You can also contact me on Facebook or,
Okay, and Agnes Laughlin, right. So this has been an absolute joy to have you on the program, and I'd like to invite you back because I wanted to talk about potentiate your DNA and parasite expert that you are, especially with, the season coming up, and we have, all these different parasites and Lyme disease. So I think that would be a totally different topic as well to do that. And if you can think of one thing that people should do daily in their life, what would that be?
Well, there's so many. Just to love